Welcome to the Cumbria Business Growth Hub podcast. Today I'm joined by Deborah Naylor from Inspira and Claire Sands of Cumbria Youth Alliance. And the topic of our conversation for this podcast is Brighter Futures, a new programme aimed at supporting young people in Cumbria who are leaving care. Welcome to you both.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us. So coming to you first, Claire, can you start off by giving our listeners a bit of background on the Brighter Futures programme? And can you also explain how CYA and Inspira are involved?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having us. The Brighter Futures project is a really exciting programme that will run throughout Cumbria over the next 3 years. It's funded by Cumbria Community Foundation, and it's actually a national initiative, and it's match funded by a lot of really wonderful people who really want to see our young people who have experience of the care system. They want to see them succeed. So it's a brilliant project for some of the most vulnerable young people in our society. Now, both Inspira and Cumbria Youth Alliance are charities with very similar ethos, which is to support young people and adults in Inspira's case to achieve their full potential. And they're very different charities. However, it's something that we are going to be playing to our strengths in order to work together to support care experienced young people in their transition to adulthood, focusing on getting young people access to employment, really enhancing their life skills and developing emotional resilience and ambition. So our young people within Cumbria who are care experienced or who have experience of the care system, they do lack stable support and life skills and exposure to positive role models. So these young people are very vulnerable and can be open to exploitation, abuse, incarceration, and the outcome for these young people can be really quite poor. So the challenges that we are facing in Cumbria in order to give these young people access to employment opportunities is something that this Brighter Futures project really brings everybody together to support these young people. It doesn't just bring Inspira and Cumbria Youth Alliance together. We work alongside the county councils, we work alongside businesses, and we really encourage support from all members of the community to get in really behind this because of the need and the exciting possibilities that we can really enrich these young people's lives and really help them create a brighter future.
That sounds absolutely brilliant. Before we get into the details of the program, Deborah, can you just explain for us what does it mean for a young person to be care experienced?
A care experienced young person is someone who has spent some time in the care system under the supervision of the local authority. And this can include living in foster care, residential care, or even being placed with relatives under a special guardianship arrangement. Young people have been removed from their families, in essence, because of a range of factors that might include neglect, abuse, or parental incapacity. And being care experienced can often mean facing unique challenges, including that vital lack of family support, disrupted education, and all of those things have an emotional toll on the young people that we're working with.
I'm just reading in our notes here that there's a higher number of young people in care in Cumbria. Claire, can you explain why that is, please?
I think there's a number of reasons. We have a real problem with areas of significant deprivation within different areas within Cumbria. We also have an impact of COVID on our young people. There is a lot of family breakdowns. There is a lot of unemployment in certain areas. And we have areas within Cumbria that is really benefiting from a lot of regeneration. And I think that lots of families, though, are still really struggling. And if there is financial issues, if there are social and emotional issues within families as well, then that's when the family unit can break down, because obviously issue and difficulty on top of each other can cause problems within families, and sometimes that's when the family unit fractures. On top of that, obviously there's things that befall families no cause of their own, such as bereavements, such as other issues within family structures. So there's big cohorts of young people who have experience with the care system within Cumbria. And it's really important that we continue to prioritise these young people. Part of the issues within these cohorts of young people is that, for example, 71% of care experienced young people in Cumbria, aged 17 to 18, are in education, employment or training, compared to 66% nationally. So we are doing some things right, correct. However, this drops to 42% by 19 to 21, and that's higher than the national rate of just 38%. So when we're looking at these young people, they are having kind of periods of support, but this is where, in that transition part, that's why it's so important that we are supporting in that transition into adulthood, in which very often a lot of young people would have the bank of mum and dad to support them through driving lessons and to support them into university, to support them into that next phase of being able to get it to apprenticeships, for example, and to be able to access transport to get to a workplace. However, these young people don't always have that level of support. So even though we do have really good support structures in place, there are elements that this project can really, really start helping, because my goodness, because we do have above national average in some areas of care experienced young people, we really do need that focus to be that continuing support into and during employment as well, because those young people will continue to need support even when they are going through that employment processes or work experience or work tasters.
So that leads us on nicely to our next question. How will Brighter Futures help these young people when they're being faced with so many different challenges?
Well, the programme's really in two parts. What we'd like to be able to do is to work with our colleagues in the local authority, job centre staff, to identify young people who might be ready to have an experience with an employer. And the first part of it really is to remove any barriers that might get in the way from them fully participating and engaging. And that's where CYA plays a role, working with the young person to identify issues that could prevent them moving into employment. Claire.
So the firm foundation stage is based around identifying the young people's barriers and helping them overcome that, often with the support of a key mentor, that key person, that trusted adult who can really support that young person. And if that trust is developed, then that person can really help that young person move forward to overcome barriers. For example, if a young person is homeless and is sofa surfing, it's really difficult for that young person to access work regularly or every 5 days a week, because there is such upheaval in their living situation. So if we can work alongside other agencies such as the homeless team, such as social services, to ensure that this young person has got a roof over their head and consistency in the living arrangements, then it's far easier to embed that positive lifestyle moving forward. So Cumbria Youth Alliance, we've been working with care experienced young people for about the past 14 years. So we know how to work alongside these young people, and we're really confident in breaking down barriers, supporting these young people, but also identifying strengths. These young people can have gone through so much through the breakdown of the family situation through no fault of their own, that actually they are some of the most resilient, have some of the greatest potential of any young people in the country. So once those barriers have been broken down, and again working with a key worker from Inspira's side, that's when those young people can really start moving forward in terms of Inspira's role. Deb.
Lovely. So the flourish stage, which is the second element of the programme, if you like, is really designed to help young people to expand their horizons and to develop a better understanding of themselves and the world of work. What we will do or what our advisor will do is to work with the young person to identify a job or a sector that they might like to have experience of. And we'll then identify an employer to offer a work placement. And that work placement can be a week, 2 weeks, 3 months, whatever the young person feels they're able to cope with. And the purpose of the placement is really to help them to gain skills, to build networks for themselves. And of course, the one-to-one support that they've experienced from the outset will continue, so that situations that might crop up at work, any barriers that they're facing, we work with the young person to overcome these. And that the purpose of the flourish stage, it's not just about young people surviving, but it's enabling them to thrive in an adult world and in the world of work.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, and just I was thinking as you're talking there, Claire, it is interesting how many amazing entrepreneurs and business owners there are who have had challenging upbringings, and yeah, there will be so much potential within these young people to do great things.
And actually, I think that's why you as a Chamber of Commerce has been so supportive with this project and so enthusiastic to see these young people thrive, because obviously the potential of these young people is there. So it's this partnership working that's absolutely key in order to help them succeed.
Sure. Yeah, definitely. I think from the business's perspective, it's very beneficial. Everyone's talking at the minute about the recruitment issues we're facing in Cumbria as a business community, and the remedy to challenging that is multifaceted, and making work more accessible for different groups. So yeah, this is a fantastic project. Just to pick on kind of one example from the foundation element, Claire, kind of you talked about if getting like some young person's accommodation sorted so that they're not sofa surfing and they have like consistent routine. Yeah, how does that actually work? Are you relying on the young person to approach yourself first, or how does it work?
No, we've got excellent referral pathways. We're working really closely with DWP, personal advisors, social services, anybody who works alongside these young people who have care experience. So because of that, we have a referral pathway. We also are advertising widely that we have this brilliant program, which is completely free of charge. And we are, we're really well supported in order to offer a lot of support to these young people. So you can refer through our website, you can contact either Deb or myself in Inspira or Cumbria Youth Alliance. So the young people can get in touch themselves, they can approach their personal advisor, whoever they're working with. And if they just hear this, then please get in touch, because both Deb and ourselves have got different arms to our organisations. We're also an infrastructure organisation that supports other youth organisations throughout the county. So we have a lot of partners that we can also refer on to should that be necessary for the young person. For example, if there's a mental health issue, we have mental health funding that we actually commission out to other mental health charities throughout the county. So we have a really wide network, and we can support young people in whichever way that they need to be supported. It isn't just care experienced young people. They are the focus of the Brighter Futures. And similarly, Inspira have got a wide range of extra strings to their bow. Deb, would you like to continue?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So we do a lot of work with employers through some of the adult contracts that we run. So we already have people who are interested in providing support. And I think we've been quietly amazed about the profile of care leavers in the county, and delighted that Josh McAllister, the MP for Workington, chose to reference care leavers and people who'd had experience of being in care in his maiden speech in Westminster, which is tremendous, really. We also work alongside Councillor Emma Williamson, who herself has had experience of care and is a real champion of this cause, really, and they're both doing as much as they can, really, to highlight the cause and to make sure that agencies and employers are on board with understanding what they can do to make young people's lives easier. We all strive to have a job, to have a stable life. And I think if people work together, we can do much more than if we work as individual organisations. It's great that Inspira and CYA are taking on this project jointly.
So continuing on that topic, in relation to employers, Deb, what's the ask for employers here, and how can they get involved?
Well, the ask really is to consider providing a work placement for individuals who have been care experienced. Through this project, we're working with young people who are between the ages of 18 and 24. So if they be willing to offer placement and we can negotiate with the employer how long that would be, we'd love to hear from them. The young people are absolutely unique, as we all are, in their interests and what they would like to progress into. So we aren't just looking for one type of employer, retail or hospitality or administration. We're looking for a whole range of employers who might be able to offer a work placement. And we feel that it would be a really good thing for employers to do. It's not just about their social responsibility, but it's about sort of making their workforce more diverse. And I think, as what you've probably heard coming along, these young people are coming along and they've had to be resilient and they've had to be determined to get through. And we think they'll be an asset to the workforce. So we're looking for employers who are supportive, who are prepared to give young people for whom the odds have been stacked against them a chance.
Brilliant. Thank you for that. And we'll put the relevant links in the description so that businesses can click through and find out more how to get involved. Just one final question for yourself, Claire. How rewarding is it to be able to support these young people?
Oh, unbelievably so. The outcomes for these young people, as we've alluded to, some of the most difficult to comprehend, I think, within our society. I'm just going to read through a couple of them. So, for example, only 66% of care experienced individuals are in employment by the age of 30, compared to 82% of their non-care experienced peers. 38% of care leavers aged 19 to 21 are NEETs, that's not in employment, education or training, compared to 11.6 for all young people. Only 20% of care leavers attain 5 GCSEs at grades A to C, including maths and English, compared to 62% amongst the general population. This can go on. Only 13% of care experienced young people progress to higher education, compared to 43% of non-care experienced young people. And the social and emotional impact of being in care is also vast. 20% of homeless people, young homeless people, have previously been in care. Children in care are 4 times more likely to have a mental health difficulty. Care experienced young people are 8 times more likely to end up in violent situations and 11 times more likely to end up in prison. So you can give yourselves time to think about those statistics and look at those outcomes, and to be part in trying to change that narrative, to change that societal narrative that's embedded within the UK as a whole, is really powerful. The learning that will come from this project, and the fact it's a national project, it means that we can actually all be part of, collaboratively, changing the culture of how young people, how their lives actually end up, what their lives actually look like. We can be a massive part in influencing policy, in able to make systemic change that we need to make within our society to see these young people move forward. And we all play a part, whether or not it's offering a work placement for a young person who's really interested in joinery, or whether or not it's just people like yourselves who are offering us a platform to talk about this in order to bring an understanding of these young people, and understanding that the outcomes are poor. And this is by no means the choice of the young people. They're not bad kids. In fact, they're really awesome, great kids. They've had a bad start sometimes within life that can just really add to the potential, to the resilience, and to the impact that we can support them in our own little way in their lives. So the reward is absolutely massive. And I think that as a society, we'll be stronger for supporting these young people as well.
Could we just finish off by saying that, as Claire mentioned earlier, this is a county-wide project. In year 1, we're concentrating on care experienced young people in Barrow and in West Cumbria. But in year 2, we'll be expanding to around the county. So any employers anywhere, if they'd like to start that conversation with us now, please do get in touch. We'd love to hear from you.
Brilliant. Thanks so much to you both for that. Great to hear you talk about this project so passionately. And yeah, we wish you all the best with it. And we'll definitely be spreading the word out to the businesses in our network to get involved. Thanks again.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you for the opportunity.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.